expert family physician and mother of 4 boys. She's back with us to give us some tips on when and how to talk to your children about sex.
You know, they can spell that really young.
I know, right? Yes. G and Ryan decided they wanted to be in the, even though they're childless, they have a lot to say about talking to your kids about.
And especially because I don't remember my parents ever talking to me about it. I need to learn something in this segment. No, but really, I don't remember having this conversation.
You gonna send this to your mom?
Yes.
G, did your parents ever talk to you about it?
I think we had a vague conversation. It all started with MTV. Remember when MTV used to play music videos?
Yeah.
And I think there was a George Michael video on, a real seductive one.
Yeah.
And my mom, I was watching it, and my mom was like, "What are you doing in here, Fudge?" And then it was kind of like, you know, sex is this mysterious thing. She didn't really explain the logistics of it. She just basically told me that it should be something that I never do until I'm married, and that, you know, just generally avoid it altogether, which wasn't really very useful.
Yeah, right.
And then I learned it from everybody else, like playing Barbies. I think that's how we learned.
Right.
Well, my parents taught.
It was like, you know, it was like, I think this is what happens, and we would play with the Barbies. Or I think this is what happens.
Yeah. Well, my family, they taught abstinence, so there was really no sex talks because you're not ever supposed to have sex until you get married. And my father, God bless his soul, to the day he died, he thought I practiced abstinence.
And I think that was really comforting for him.
Yeah, and she had 2 kids, which is really crazy.
And, you know, it doesn't really work, does it? I don't think, anyway.
Well, it's not about me. Let's talk about the kids. Basically, you say that the parents should be the first to talk to the kids about it, and they should not learn it from their peers or Barbies.
Our kids are going to learn some about this from their peers and from online. So don't we want to be their first go-to expert that they keep coming back to and checking everything with and asking us?
But how do you make them feel comfortable? Kids, like if you're preaching that you shouldn't do this until you're older, they're going to be scared to talk to you about sex.
So that's because the first conversations about sex are not actually about intercourse. The first conversations about sex start when your child says, "Daddy, what's that?" Because they walked in when you're toweling off in the shower. Or, why does my...
So that's like 3 or 4 years old.
2, 3, 4 years old. The first conversations about sex are about someone's own body. They're about body pride, but also body privacy, right? We want our kids to have both those feelings moving forward. That they feel proud of who they are and comfortable with their bodies. They can ask questions. They can use the right words to describe things, but also that they have body privacy, that they know not to... So kids masturbate, right? They start between the ages of 2 and 5. That's one peak.
With boys?
Really?
And girls.
But girls
and
too?
girls. Because it feels nice. So does picking your nose. They do that at that age too, right? It feels nice. So what do we say? We say, oh, get a tissue. No, we say we want you to do that. You should do that when you're by yourself. You should do that in your room.
So you don't stop it?
So there's not actually anything wrong with it. It's a developmentally normal step.
Really? It starts that young?
And then for most kids, it tapers off from elementary school, starts up again about when puberty, and ends at sometime in the nursing home. So
again. I keep going back to
That was good, Dr. G.
Yeah, well, I have a 95-year-old grandmother in a nursing home.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, after the show. But again, I can see this for a boy. I just don't see this for a girl. Am I naive to think?
Yes.
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 In one day in my office, I got the same phone call from the mom of a 3-year-old girl who'd been at the beach, the Jersey Shore, with her kids, and a 13-year-old boy's mom saying the exact same thing. I saw my child touching themselves. What do I do? Right? So you say to them, hey, this is something we do in private. This is something you should do alone, not ever with friends, right? When you think about it, for tweens and teens, don't you want your kids to do most of their sexual experimentation alone?
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Right, but more and more you're seeing kids having sexual intercourse at younger and younger ages. How do you talk to them about it, at least let them know, you know, what's going on or what they're getting themselves into?
Just like with our worries about our kids smoking, we know that if we catch kids before this is a social issue for them, they're much more likely to have our voice ringing in their ears when they're making a decision. None of our children will have us next to them when they decide the first time to have sex. So we want our voice in their head, since we are not going to be right next to them guiding that decision.
Let me ask you this, because this is my parenting approach, and tell me if I'm off or on. I told Zoe here recently, because there was a text I found in her phone that had some sexually explicit language in it, right? So I told her, I know everything. I see everything. If you do it, I'll already know it. So I'm trying to scare her not to do it.
Oh, you have to explain. It wasn't, the text wasn't from Zoe.
No, it was something that was sent to her. But I'm trying to instill fear into her. Like, if she thinks about doing it, mommy's already going to know it, so I'm not going to do it. Is that bad?
No, for a tween, it's not bad.
Oh, okay.
But a high schooler's going to see through that. So you want to have the open communication. You can always come to me and ask me something. You find that text and you say to her, tell me about this. In as non-judgmental a way as you can. Tell me about this. What does it mean?
I did that part
What do you think? Great. Right? Because then she knows you're a safe place for her to land. You are the safest place for her to talk about these things, ask the questions that she has.
Okay. I have a question. Growing up, you know, the worst thing we could come across was probably like a Playboy stash somewhere, but now it's like the internet. And a friend of mine, 12-year-old, was just found online, kind of watching porn.
Fascinating.
How do you keep your kids from doing that?
You have to have been able to talk to them about it beforehand. This is something that's available to you, and I'm going to trust you that if you stumble across it or someone introduces it to you, you're going to come and talk to me about it.
Right. What if they don't come and talk to you about it, and they just don't feel comfortable or whatever? When do you sit your child down at what age and say, hey, look, we need to talk about this?
Really, if you can have a conversation that is about, so developmentally with toddlers, we said body privacy and body pride. With 5 to 8-year-olds, you have to head off the you show me yours and I'll show you mine experience, that in somebody's bedroom or out behind the house or whatever. So you have to say to them, hey, you know, somebody at some point might say something to you like this. What do you think would be the right thing to do? And you encourage them to come to it, and if they don't, you say, so I understand that it seems like it might be interesting, but I want you to not do this because it's not respectful.
I want to go back to G's follow-up question for what G asked you, and if your kid is caught in that position, they're online, how do you have that conversation once it's already done? They've already been online. Yeah. How do you change that direction? What is the conversation like when you're trying to get them to turn away from that?
First, you normalize for them their feelings. It is normal to be interested in this. It is normal to be intrigued by this, and I don't judge you. I'm not ashamed of the fact that you are interested. But what people judge you on and what we judge you on are the choices you make based on those feelings, right? How you feel is how you feel, but your actions are what speak of your character. Okay. So here's why we want you to turn away from it. Now you tell me, do you have any compelling reasons you think are more important than that? And let's talk about it. Okay. That way you're showing them some respect, but you're still laying down the line. If at the end of this conversation you don't feel like you can control this, then that's okay, but we are going to check your history each day. We are going to see what happened, and there are going to be consequences if you break our values.
Perfect.
Yeah. There are probably some adults that could use this advice too.
Dr. G, thank you so much for the tips, and thanks for joining us.
I really appreciate it. What fun.
All right. Thanks for watching Windy City After Dark. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m.